afternoon. As we all know, the new number of COVID-19 positive cases across our state and country are rising dramatically. Here in Gary, we've recorded double-digit increases every day for the last several weeks. This is disturbing, but it should not be surprising. We expected this surge to occur because of the cooler weather, and people have been spending more time indoors and also have more risk and more exposure to COVID. In fact, this month in October of 2020, the likely number of new cases that we've seen in Gary has continued to increase, and we've seen more since we've seen in the month of March. What we do know are a couple of things. Number one is that we're not rounding the corner, even though we find ourselves in the midst of the crisis. But secondly, we know that this pandemic will continue to touch the lives of many people. We must continue to fight against the spread of this disease, and this is especially important since the city of Chicago and state of Illinois continue to restrict many businesses, which pushes more of their residents into our city. If there could be a positive to this issue, it must be that we must begin adapting to the pandemic. However, for me, that causes concern since it seems that most of the country appears to have become complacent and let their guard down in the struggle against the COVID-19 virus. While our number of new cases is relatively high here in Gary, we have not seen the same death toll that we saw earlier this year. And with that in mind, to me, any death that occurs certainly is egregious, and to that extent, we must continue to recognize those folks, and we certainly grieve for the families associated with this. For this month, we've seen 6 deaths recorded, but we've also seen a significant number of people and residents getting tested, and we also seen a number of people surviving from the infection. Also, we've realized additional ways to adapt. There's a mask mandate in place, and we have most of our residents respecting the mask mandate. But we have to continue to stop having large gatherings or to continue our effort against large gatherings. And we also know that we must continue to do everything we can do to help each other. At this point, I'd like to welcome our department, City of Gary Department Health Commissioner, Dr. Roland Walker. Dr. Walker.
Thank you, Mayor Prince. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to the citizens of Gary. Thank you, citizens of Gary, for allowing me to come into your home. First, I want to review the numbers as they're updated for today. In Indiana, the total of new cases for today was 3,205. So total in the state of Indiana, we've had 175,893 positive cases. In Indiana, we had 26 new deaths for a total of 4,050 deaths in the state of Indiana. In Lake County, we've had 279 new positives, so total we've had 15,351 new cases, total cases in Lake County. We've had 1 new death, which brings our death total in Lake County to 2,291. So in the city of Gary, we continue to see double digits. So today we have 20 new cases, So we've had a total of 1,922 cases in the city of Gary. Fortunately, no new deaths in the last 24 hours, but we have unfortunately had 88 deaths in the city of Gary. 88 of our citizens have perished because of COVID-19. So what do these numbers mean? First of all, October has been our worst month. We've had the most cases since this pandemic started. This month is not over, and October has had the most cases since the pandemic have started, which outpaces now both March and April. So let me repeat that. October has been our worst month in terms of number of cases of COVID during the start of this pandemic. Now, nationally, you might be hearing that we're rounding the corner or that we're at the end of our pandemic. And I want to repeat this several times. That is not true. That is not true. That is not accurate. I don't know any other way of saying it. That is not true. I hope that is clear. So we need to continue to do the same things that we've been doing before to try to mitigate the spread of this virus. Now, despite what you've heard, nationally about fatigue. Fatigue is one part of the problem. The other part is something we really can't do anything about, and that is simply that it is cold and people are coming inside and we're gathering closer together. So for that reason, we need to keep doing the same things that we're asking everybody to do, and that is to wear masks, is a social distance, and reduce the numbers of people gathering. And keep in mind that when you hear some of the things, policies change after elections, before elections, and we want our health policy to remain consistent. Gary's health policy has remained consistent, and that has been, we've asked people to wear masks, to socially distance, and to please, when possible, reduce the numbers of gathering. Now, on a personal note, I want to let you know how serious this virus is. You know, one of the things that I've learned, and one of the things that the mayor has taught me, is that when you are open and honest with the public, that they will receive you. And so early on, everybody knows that my family has had to deal with COVID. What you don't know is that 7 months later, we're still dealing with COVID. Even though my parents are not infected, my parents are still dealing with very serious lingering health concerns. And I myself are dealing with some nagging health concerns. So I want the people of Gary not to have to deal with some of the things that I've had to deal with. So, you know, I think about it when I have people approach me and they say, you know, we really didn't listen, we didn't understand, and now I've lost a family member. I have a family member that's really dealing with some very serious issues. Well, I don't want you to have to come to me and say that afterwards. So please listen now. This is a very serious thing, and there are some things that we can do. We can, as the holidays come, we can avoid large family gatherings. Now, we all love our families. We want to spend time with our families, but this is not the time in 2020. We can have Zoom gatherings and we have small gatherings, but please avoid large family gatherings. Please avoid large sporting events and large sporting practices, because that's going to bring numbers of people together, and you're going to bring virus back into your homes. Please avoid large numbers of people in nightclubs and bars. That has been particularly our biggest spread vector right now, of people going to clubs and bars and partying. And the more you party, the more uninhibited you become, and the less you social distance. You don't realize how close you are. You don't realize how loud you're talking and you're spreading to other people. And because the louder you talk, the more you spread virus, because you're projecting more. So please avoid those situations. And even think about social distancing within your home. I know that's very hard to think of, but particularly if you have vulnerable people in your home, consider social distancing in your home, because that saves lives. Now, I know the things that I just said are not popular. I'm not here to win a popularity contest either. I'm here because it is really, really important to me that we save lives and that we have great quality of lives. We will round the corner. There will be a cure one day. There will be a vaccine one day. And we have to remain strong till we get to that point. But I just think that it's irresponsible to tell people that we're at that point where we're rounding that corner yet. We need to continue to do the same things. And once again, I appreciate the mayor for allowing me to help him, because this is our leader, and so allow him to make proper decisions for our city. And I appreciate the citizens of Gary for allowing me to come and give my advice as I see it, because you know, I think about and I pray for the citizens of Gary every day, and I hope that the things that I say are helpful to at least one person, because if we can save one life and if we can make one life better, then I think that we've done, at least partly done our job. Thank you so much.
So Dr. Walker has been giving these updates for a while, and we certainly appreciate him doing it. Doc, as you were talking, it occurred to me that one element that we have not discussed, and I certainly would like to make part of these weekly updates and part of the conversation, is suggestive ways of how people can build up their immune systems. I think that you know, it's great to take all the precautions that we talk about, and certainly we believe that they've contributed to at least the numbers not rising to the level that they possibly could. But I think also, we have a responsibility, particularly from the medical side of things, and just as residents, if we have information, to share as much as we can. And just from the research that I've done, the limited research and the conversations with you, I do know that a healthy immune system is certainly a part of it as well. So again, thank you for the comments, and we look forward to bringing more information to our residents and to all of you soon. So the fight against COVID-19 has taken a great deal of time and resources, but as Doctor has said, I'm proud of our city, and in the face of a historic pandemic, and as we continue to fight against the many issues the city has faced over the decades, we still have great people doing great things in our city and our community, and we should be proud. One of those persons is the executive director of the YWCA, and at this time I'd certainly like to bring her and another young lady who's with her up. That would be Karen Jones and Michelle Johnson. For 100 years, YWCA has meant a lot to this community, and we're certainly proud of the accomplishments that they've made, and we want to give Karen as well as Michelle an opportunity to share some of those with you as they celebrate their 100th anniversary. Karen, Michelle, thank you.
Well, thank you, Mayor Prince, and good afternoon to all the citizens of Gary. I am just so excited to be here this afternoon to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the YWCA of Northwest Indiana. It is not every day that an organization becomes 100 years old. In 1920, there were a group of women under the direction of Cassie Hodges, who at the time, whose husband was the mayor of Gary, decided that they needed an organization for women. They had the YMCA, but they did not have anything for the women in Gary. And we had just finished another pandemic. Isn't that ironic? They had just finished with the Spanish flu. They had finished World War I. They had finished with a strike at U.S. Steel. So there were a lot of things going on in the city of Gary, which had just been incorporated in 1906. So it was a young city, but they needed something for women to do also. So they went and raised money, but they didn't have quite enough. So what did they do? What did Cassie do? Like a lot of women do. She did a little pillow talk. And so her husband told her, hey, you got to do what you got to do. So she went and talked to the CEO of U.S. Steel, which was Albert H. Gary. And at that time, Albert H. Gary was in New York. What a lot of people don't understand is that Albert H. Gary, in whose name the city is named after, never lived in Gary. He lived in New York. And so she and Laura Seaman, whose husband is William Seaman, who we have a building named after, traveled to New York City. And when they went there, Albert Gary did give them the money to build, not to build, but to get the building that they needed to get the organization started, which all they wanted was $100,000. In today's money, that is $1.3 million. So they did get the money, and in 1920, they did start the organization. In 1922, they moved into 6 East 36th Avenue, which at that time was a furniture building, and they did open up, which became the YWCA. We're so excited because 100 years later, Michelle and I, who is our board president, we stand on those women's shoulders. And the YWCA is here because of our mission is about women empowerment and about racial injustice. And because we are here, we want to keep that movement going. So on tomorrow, we will celebrate. We're having a virtual masquerade fundraiser. We had planned to do everything in person, but of course, you always got to have your plan B. So we're doing Plan B tomorrow at Majestic Star Casino Pavilion, and we want everybody to tune in. You can go to our website, www.ywcanwi.org, and you'll be able to find all the directions on how to get there. I just want to say, I want to thank all of our committee members who labored so hard to get this going. I want to thank my board of directors under the direction of Michelle Johnson, who's here with me. I want to thank our staff, who has been terrific with all of us. But most of all, I want to thank the community of Gary for being here for the YWCA for all these years. And I want you to continue to support the YWCA, because it takes a lot of donations, it takes money to keep a place like that going. And the YWCA does need tender loving care, and with your support and with your donations, we can keep that going. Thank you.
Good afternoon, citizens of Gary. I'm Michelle Johnson, the board chair of the YWCA of Northwest Indiana, and we are turning 100 years old on tomorrow, October 31st, and we will be celebrating with our virtual gala. But before I go more into that, I really want to thank the citizens of Gary. The YWCA of Northwest Indiana is a nonprofit organization, and the only money that we are given or that we have to service you are funds that you generously give us. We apply for grants, we have membership fees, but those fees come from the members, and those members are citizens of Gary. So thank you so very much for all of your decade-long efforts, for keeping us open for these 100 years, and we still need your support so that we can stay open for 100 more. What we're doing today is laying the foundation so that 100 years from now, somebody can stand here and say that they were able to go to the YWCA of Northwest Indiana, take swimming lessons, have their child have child care, have a Meals on Wheels, have physical and mental well-being. And so with that being said, I just want to thank you again. Please join us tomorrow at our gala. If you need more information, that is, you can find that on our website at www.ywcanwi.org. It is absolutely free, which is very hard to come by these days. So please join us tomorrow at 12 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle and Karen. If you all could stay for just a second, I actually have a proclamation that we prepared in recognition of the outstanding work that you both continue to do on behalf of the city as well as its citizens. If you don't mind, I'd like to read it to you and then present it. It's from the City of Gary on your 100th anniversary. On behalf of the citizens of Gary, we congratulate the YWCA of Northwest Indiana on 100 years of dedicated service to the community. I, Jerome Prince, Mayor of the City of Gary, do hereby proclaim Friday, October the 30th, 2020, as YWCA of Northwest Indiana Day. And go ahead and give yourselves a hand. You deserve it. I just wanted to go further by at least expressing what your motto and what the vision or part of the vision of the YWCA is. It's eliminating racism, empowering women at the YWCA, and we certainly appreciate it. There's a mission here. It says eliminating racism, empowering women. YWCA is dedicated to eliminating racism and empowering women and promoting justice, freedom, and dignity for all. In testimony whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Gary to be affixed this 30th day of October 2020, and it's signed by me, Mayor, City of Gary. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both again. No, thank you. Thanks for attending, and thanks for all the great work you do. Absolutely amazing work on behalf of the city. And so also today, we have announced a redevelopment department's initiative and the redevelopment commission and department initiative, and that is that they've received a grant from the Indiana State Department of Health to develop a bicycle and pedestrian master plan. This is tremendously important as we seek to have safe trails and paths that connect our different neighborhoods. We want to make it easier for our citizens to travel across the entire city. We also want to provide new recreational opportunities for our residents, and the best part of it is that it will be driven largely by you and the residents. Of course, this is no small matter, but I have every confidence that our team will do a great job in building the bike and ped system that we can call a reimagined bike and ped system for the city of Gary. And at this point, I'd like to bring up the person who's instrumental in orchestrating that, and that would be Miss Deb Backus. Deb, would you join us, please, and give a few words? Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Prince. I appreciate the opportunity to help roll out to the community the master bicycle and pedestrian plan that we're working on at the moment. And I also want to congratulate the YWCA. What an incredible legacy and what an amazing future you guys have. Keep up the great work. The Bicycle and Pedestrian Master Plan, as the mayor said, is a grant we got from the Indiana State Department of Health, the Nutrition and Physical Activity Division. It's a 50-50 match program where they provide us with $20,000. We provide a match of $20,000, and what that buys us basically is it allows us to engage some consultants to really help us put together an amazing plan. As the mayor indicated, much of this plan is really about community engagement and having the citizens weigh in, citizens across the entire city, all ages, all incomes, all neighborhoods, all abilities and disabilities, weigh in and let us know what their needs are, so that we can put those into the plan. The plan is intended to be something that is implementable, that is something that is practical in nature. It is something that will become affordable. Affordable in part because we'll be seeking grants. The plan will include opportunities for grants, priorities for rolling things out, so it doesn't sit on the shelf as being something that we had high hopes for, but something that really is, we can, over the coming years, find the funding to move forward and make our city safer, more walkable, more bikeable, and allow our citizens to not only participate in a greater variety of recreation and active transportation initiatives, but it'll help with our health as well. With COVID, there's one positive thing I've seen. I know that after the lockdown, I've seen an awful lot more people walking and biking in my neighborhood, and others have said the same. So we've reinvigorated ourselves, and that in and of itself, the healthier our body is, I think the more resilient our body is, and maybe it helps us fend off COVID a bit. It helps us with increasing our health. Also helps us with economic development, neighborhood revitalization as we begin to develop infrastructure that allows for walking and biking. It allows people to have many other options than they have right now in terms of getting to their jobs, getting to their grocery stores, getting to church, kids getting to schools, by expanding the transportation available, not just cars, not just transit, which is an important part of our transportation system, but adding safe bike lanes, fixing up sidewalks, providing pathways that are safe and well maintained for our citizens. And we are very adamant about making sure that we really are capturing, in a social equity sense, all residents' voices as we move forward. What I want to talk to you about today is basically our community engagement plan. That involves a number of elements, and it involves you in particular. We've set up an advisory committee of community leaders that have voices that will help us think through health aspects, school aspects, housing authority aspects, recreational aspects, a wide variety of leaders who will be helping us think things through. But what's most important is actually hearing from each and every one of you. We put together a wonderful survey, easy to move through. It's online. You can do it on your phone. You can do it on a computer. We're hoping to kind of put together, for those who don't have computers at home, set up stations where you might be able to come to, whether it's at a library or a doctor's office or other, where you could fill out the survey as well. That'll allow you to, one, say, you know, I don't really walk and bike very much because there are too many obstacles. It's not safe. The sidewalks are all broken up. There's no bike lanes. That survey allows you to clearly tell us what your priorities are, what's keeping you from walking and biking. It allows you to tell us whether you own a car, whether you own a bike. Is that what a barrier is? It allows you to actually look at a map, hone in on where you live, and then identify where you really would like to be able to walk and bike safely to. And you can along the way say, you know, I'd love to walk from my home at Connecticut and 9th to Buffington Park, but, you know, the sidewalks are awful. You can identify that and put a comment there and say, can we get that fixed? Or I'd like to bike to the Railcat Stadium or the Art House. It'll allow you to say, here's where I'd like to go, but my gosh, going across 5th Street, there's no crosswalk there. Can you please do something about that? And it allows you also to kind of really give us your vision of what you'd like your neighborhood or your city and across the city to look like in terms of bicycle and pedestrian planning. We've got a website. It's called reinvestingary.org, reinvestingary, all one word, .org. That'll allow you to easily get to the survey. We've got it plastered all over. It also allows you to keep up to date on what we're doing with regard to the plan. The survey is at a website called Gary Walk Bike Roll at metroquest.com. The roll part of it is basically making sure we're including all citizens, including those who use mobility devices such as wheelchairs. It's a really nice, easy-to-use survey, and we hope to get lots of robust feedback, because that's what will guide the development of the plan. I think that's all I really wanted to touch on today, other than to say, please help us out. Have your voice mean something by giving us input. That input will go into the plan. We'll bring the plan then to the citizens through a couple of public meetings in the future, one in December most likely, another one probably in March, to continue to get your feedback and hone and finalize a plan for us. The plan will ultimately be adopted by the Common Council as part of the comprehensive plan, and that should happen somewhere between April and June. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share the great news about this plan, and we look forward to hearing from the citizens of Gary.
So we want to thank Deb once again. Personally, as an avid cyclist, I look forward to the work that's going to come out of this initiative, and also I see it as a way to encourage more citizens to participate in the recreational activities that we have by way of the bike lanes that are already established. You know, I've discovered that we have some wonderful trails here, and one thing that Deb didn't mention, or maybe she did, but I want to reiterate, is that it certainly has an opportunity to create greater connectivity to the entire city, and that's ultimately the plan. We want to provide more efficient, more eco-friendly ways for our residents to traverse the city, in addition to having a little fun and a little recreation. I was given a couple of announcements that we need to make. Dr. Walker asked that I remember to remind you that there's testing at the health department on a daily basis. For testing information or for specific times, please call the health department, and one of the staff there will certainly share that information with you. Also, we're offering free flu shots today, for instance, 1 to 5, and tomorrow from 9 to 1. Free flu shots for any resident who wants to participate in that, and the address for that is at 426 Lake Street. Free flu shots today. So, before I end, I just want to say that when we hear great news like this and when we get to celebrate it with you, it's that kind of commitment that we see from groups like the YWCA and certainly the Redevelopment Commission by way of Deb Backus that encourages us and makes us want to continue to share this information with all of you and certainly continue to move forward in our efforts to make Gary a great city. Our fight against the COVID virus has taken many twists and turns, as we know, but I'm sure that if we continue in this together, even though it'll be a difficult challenge, that it's one that we'll get through. But as I've often said, we are strong, and as I said from the beginning, if we remain calm and patient, and we look out for one another, that we will get through this together. Thank you again for your time this afternoon, and we look forward to bringing you more information next week. Thank you.